everyone, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a Jurassic World Rebirth video. So, in this video, I'm going to be doing a sort of news catch-up, and I'm going to be showcasing everything that we currently know for Jurassic World Rebirth, including new clips, promotional material, and more. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. Okay, so first and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look at all the screen grabs we currently have from the movie, and there have been a lot, even predating the first trailer. So, first and foremost, we have this shot of Henry Loomis and Zora Bennett in the long grass. This is, as we know, going to be the Titanosaurus scene. Then we have Duncan Kincaid on the dock with the flare, and of course from the trailers we know that he's leading away the D-Rex. Next we can see Zora Bennett with the DNA case. The DNA case looks to be empty, so maybe this is before they retrieve any of the dinosaur DNA. It's possible when they just arrive to the island. Could be that. The next one we see Henry Loomis, Zora Bennett, and Leclerc wading through the water. We can also see the DNA case make a return, and this time it is floating on some sort of bag. Then we can see more of Zora Bennett in the long grass with this new sort of rifle. It looks to have a dart on the end, which is going to be used to collect the DNA. Then we get to see Henry Loomis posted up to a tree. More of Zora Bennett in the long grass. This is a behind-the-scenes shot because you can see the sort of film clip thing that they're using. So there are a lot of screen grabs from the Titanosaurus scene in particular. Here's another one with Martin Krebs, Duncan Kincaid, and Leclerc, all looking up at something, probably the Titanosaurus. Then we can see the shot of the crew on the boat, specifically Henry Loomis and Zora Bennett, as well as the DNA case, and it looks like Henry Loomis is giving Zora a scowl, so looks like there will be a bit of tension between the two. Then we can see Zora Bennett with the DNA case and the new electric Jeep that will be in the movie. Looks pretty cool. Then we can see Duncan at the bar in, I want to say Thailand, I think it is. We can see a couple other random characters beside him. Very cool. We can see Henry retrieving DNA from the Quetzalcoatlus egg. We can see Zora Bennett in the background as well. We get an even better look at the Quetzalcoatlus nest, and I love the set design here. Now these ones, they're not screen grabs. These ones are just behind the scenes footage, and this may look very interesting because it looks nothing like the sort of island setting that we've seen in the previous pictures, but this is supposedly going to be near the beginning of the film in New York, and there's this sort of a blocked off area with a bunch of guys in hazmat suits, and on the back of this suit there's some sort of New York City animal control, and in the logo they actually feature a pterosaur and a velociraptor, so dinosaurs have in a way integrated into the world and are part of animal control now, which is cool. Don't know exactly why they're spraying this sort of area. Maybe it's contaminated with what's killing the dinosaurs, so that'll be pretty interesting to see. Even more in New York, we can see Martin Krebs and Zora Bennett. I'm imagining they're discussing the mission before going to recruit Henry Loomis here. Speaking of Henry Loomis, we can see him holding a camera, and he's dressed very similar to Alan Grant. This is again in the sort of bar in Thailand, and we can see the Megalodon skull in the background, or the jaws rather, and a couple of other skulls in the background too. Then we get this screen grab of Zora Bennett sort of laying on the ground next to the Jeep, and we know that this scene will contain the Mutadons, and I'll get into that later, but looks pretty good. Then we get to see another angle of it with Zora Bennett under the Jeep and Martin Krebs holding the DNA case next to the tire, and this is also when the Mutadons attack, so maybe he's going to take the case, get in the driver's seat, and then drive off, maybe leading the Mutadons away. That'll be cool. Then we can see this screen grab of the Quetzalcoatlus nest sequence, and we can see the father Quetzalcoatlus defending the nest, Zora Bennett and Henry Loomis hiding behind some pillars as well. Looks pretty cool. At first this caught me off guard because the lighting doesn't really click to me. I don't think the eyes should be lit that well, which is why I thought at first this was sort of faked or photoshopped, but it could be an official screen grab. I'm pretty sure it is, so looks pretty cool. Then we can see two members of the Delgado family and the crew looking up at something in this sort of cage. Not quite too sure what it could be, but they're looking up, so I'm imagining it's tall. Then we can see the boat that the crew will be on, as well as the Mosasaurus, which looks absolutely enormous in this shot, breaching out of the water, looking very cool. Then we can see the Delgados again. This time it's going to take place in the river raft sequence with the T-Rex. I'm imagining this takes place a little bit before that, though. Then we can see another shot of Zora Bennett holding up the rope, trying to catch Henry Loomis before he falls. and another shot of Zora Bennett at the base or the entrance of the Quetzalcoatlus nest as well. And then finally we get this shot of Henry Loomis and Zora Bennett. Henry Loomis has these binoculars, but it's not made clear as to what exactly he's looking at. Perhaps this is a little bit before the Quetzalcoatlus nest sequence, and he's just scouting out the nest and making sure the Quetzalcoatlus leave, maybe. We'll just have to wait and see. But overall, some really cool screen grabs from the movie, as well as a bunch of behind-the-scenes pictures. Very nice. As for promotional material, there are a plethora of posters to look at. First and foremost, this one with Zora Bennett and the Quetzalcoatlus. Now, this angle that the Quetzalcoatlus in is a little interesting to me, but overall it still looks pretty cool. I like the scenery with the waterfall in the background and the cliffs. Very good. Then we have this one with Duncan and what I'm presuming is the Distortus Rex, just looking at the claws. Some people are saying that the claws and the scales on the foot kind of match the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus, and it's kind of spoiling that it will be in the movie. I don't really think so. I don't think they'd put the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus in the movie. I think it's more than likely the Distortus Rex. And we can see this shot of Zora Bennett in front of the new Jeep. Now, before the Mutodon was revealed, this leg was originally thought to be the new Velociraptor design. However, after a bunch of the clips have come out, we can guarantee that this is the Mutodon. Then we can see Henry Loomis and the Quetzalcoatlus, as well as a bunch of eggs. And then we have this poster for the movie. Now, it's not very clear as to what the official poster will be. There's just a bunch of them for the movie. In my opinion, I think this poster is perhaps the coolest. You get the three main characters down in the water, each with their own, sort of key trait. You have Henry Loomis with his bag, Duncan with the flare, and Zora with her rifle. And you get to see the Distortus Rex in the background. Looks pretty cool. Then we have another poster with the Delgado family rowing away from the T-Rex and Zora Bennett. I love this poster. It looks really cool. Then we have this one, again with Zora Bennett and the Quetzalcoatlus, this time inside the nest. Looks very cool. This one with the three main characters and the Mosasaurus. This one with the Distortus Rex and one of the scientists in the opening scene. Looks very cool. Then we have this poster, again with Zora Bennett and the Mutodon. Then we have this one, the IMAX poster. It has the Delgado family and the T-Rex on it. And then we have this one with the Spinosaurus attacking the boats and the Delgados as well. Looks very nice. Then there are a bunch of posters made for the premiere of the movie, which is going to be shown in a bunch of locations around the world. So we have this one in London with the Mosasaurus, the boats, and the Spinosauruses. And we have this one in Berlin with the T-Rex and Dilophosaurus. Very nice. This one in New York, which has the Distortus Rex. I find it very interesting that they would want to showcase it just like that before the film actually comes out. But then again, there is a lot of stuff regarding the Distortus Rex already, so kind of makes sense, but I don't know, it's just a very interesting choice to show the main sort of antagonistic dinosaur right front and center in a premiere poster, but looks pretty cool regardless. I'm pretty sure we can also see the Mutodon in the background, as well as Henry Loomis. Now, moving on to renders for the movie, because every Jurassic film has had renders since the first Jurassic World in 2015. So we have this one of the Velociraptor, and it looks pretty cool. As we know, very similar to the Jurassic Park 3 Velociraptors, but this time with new colors. I especially love the colors on the skull. The blue, the red, and the yellow all work very well. Very nice. Then we have this one of the T-Rex. I think it loses the sort of angular design of its skull in this render that we can see in the trailer, but otherwise it looks really cool. I like the yellow and gray color scheme. Very nice. We have this one of the Quetzalcoatlus. I don't have too much to say about it. It looks nice. The colors are very vibrant. I love the blue striping on the neck. Overall, pretty great design. Then we have the Aquilops, which actually has a name, and it is Dolores. Now, something I find very interesting about Dolores, or the Aquilops in the film, is that it's quadrupedal. In life, I think it's believed that Aquilops would have been mostly bipedal. So that's pretty interesting, but I like the colors, I like the striping on the tail. It's a very cute dinosaur. And we have this one of the Spinosaurs, and has a very angular looking skull. I definitely think they improved the design since the first trailer. It's much more, scarier looking in my opinion, and less like a Baryonyx. Just very cool in general. I love this sort of striping on the sail that runs down the tail. Very nice. I also like how big the claw is on the first digit. That's very cool. Then we have this one of the Dilophosaurus, very similar to the ones in Dominion, this time with a different frill design, much more spotty than stripy like the ones in Dominion and Jurassic Park, but looks very cool. This render of the Distortus Rex, and it is showing it full front and center, and we can see the coloration of it. Very nice, mostly like tan, some sort of browns and oranges in there as well. Very cool. I especially like this sort of pose it's in, where it's looking directly at the camera, but you can see like the bigger forelimbs and then the smaller forelimbs as well. Very cool. And lastly, we have this headshot of the Distortus Rex, and you can see how very similar it is to an actual T-Rex, which, you know, is obvious because it's a mutated T-Rex, but you can definitely see like the skull shape in it. It's very cool. Now, as for merchandise, and I typically stay away from merchandise when making these videos because there have been instances before where people have covered the merchandise and then they got their videos taken down for showing too much, so I typically like to steer away from that, but the Funkos seem relatively safe to talk about, so that's what I'm going to talk about. We have a bunch of Funkos for the new movie, the Titanosaurus, Quetzalcoatlus, Aquilops, Mosasaurus, and Distortus Rex, as well as the Spinosaurus. But we have two interesting ones, the Carnotaurus and the Diabloceratops. Now, Funko, typically in their first wave for a movie, will only make figures that are present in the movie, and then after a while they'll make like repaints of them as well, and just like different kinds of figures that you don't see in the movie. So, considering that this is the first wave, I want to say, I'm not guaranteeing, but I'm hoping that Carnotaurus and Diabloceratops will be in the movie, two new additions to the roster. The Carnotaurus looks quite different from the ones we've already seen in the franchise, this time with a much more green color scheme, so hopefully, maybe we'll get to see the Carnotaurus camouflage sequence seen in the second novel in the movie. That would be cool. Then we get to see a red Diabloceratops. It's pretty cool, I do like it a lot. It has a nose horn, which is interesting, considering that the real Diabloceratops doesn't have one, but overall it looks pretty cool. I like them both, and I like all the figures in general. So I've decided to split this video into two parts. The second part I will talk about all the clips that have come out and try to organize them in chronological order, or at least what I think will be chronological order, and we'll do that in the next video. So that is going to have to wrap up this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to press the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.